Hello and welcome to Luxembourg. It is very, very wet, but it looks like there's a little bit of sunshine peeking through the clouds at the moment. This is stage one from Steinfort to Steinfort. We're in the western part of the country, and it's 107 kilometers, just a little bit further than the stage last year. This is the map of today's stage. They started an hour ago. This is where we are for one local lap, and then here we are, one local lap, and then we move into the east side of the country, the northeast side, and back to Steinfort, where there's another 5 laps to go for the riders. 107 riders have taken the start in a very, very wet Steinfort. They had to actually blow dry the road to get the finish line glued on, otherwise it would have been absolutely futile. Those were our names. My name is José Bain. Sitting next to me is Owen Rogers, just like yesterday, and we're going to have a look at the classification after yesterday's prologue, which was won, of course, by Demi Vollering, her first UCI victory. She beat Lisa Brennauer, former world time trial champion, by 6 seconds. Rianne Marcus was very happy with her podium after a rough start to the season. Marlene Reusser, she's an unknown name at the moment, but that's the great thing about this race. We get to know new names, and no less than 3 riders from WNT Rotor in the top 6. Christine Majerus, she's just outside the top 10. And Franziska Koch, of whom I talked extensively yesterday, came in 10th, but her transponder was not working. So that's why she was not in the top 10 yesterday. Of course, these are the rankings in the points classification. The green jersey will be worn by Lisa Brennauer. And we've got points at the finish line today. No intermediate sprints this year. So things are about to change in that classification, and there's one classification left, and that's the best young rider, and there she is again, our new German superstar, Franziska Koch. 6 seconds before the world champion from Bergen, Elena Pirone, and Claire Faber had a great prologue, the young Luxembourg rider. She's at 7 seconds and has still every chance of winning this young rider classification. So those are the classifications. Today we'll add the Queen of the Mountains, which is a red jersey, and these are the live images of the peloton, where we can see Roxanne Kneteman in 4th position patrolling. Evie Kuipers is there in orange for her teammate Rianne Marcus, and also with the Boels Dolmans helmet is Christine Majerus. Owen, if we look at the results of yesterday, do you think that Christine Majerus was happy with what she did here?
I don't think she was, but also I don't think that the route particularly suited her. I think it was a bit too steep for a bit too long for a rider of her skill set. So I think when she sits down and goes through it realistically, she'll be satisfied that she did the best that she possibly could in the circumstances. It does leave her a fair way back on general classification, something which she won't be particularly happy about. However, she'll just do her best from there on in, I think.
If we look at the rules and regulations in this race, bonification seconds, but only at the finish line.
Yeah, there are no intermediate sprints this year. There are 10, 6 and 4 seconds awarded to the top 3 on each finish stage, so today and tomorrow. When you think that Christine has 16 seconds to make up,
that seems like a tough ask.
Yeah, but that is providing that Demi Vollering comes in on the same time as her in the stage finish, which is, let's face it, that's likely, because she's not the kind of rider that is going to be dropped on a race like this. So, but I don't think we can write Christine off, and I don't think we can write many of the riders in that are ahead of Christine off yet. Anyway, there's also a points competition. The points competition is has points awarded on the finish line. So the top 10 get 15, 12, 10, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3 and 2 points awarded top 10 of each stage that's remaining, i.e. today and tomorrow.
That might be a classification that's interesting to watch. If you look at the top 10 at the moment in GC, there's, well, Owen and I agree on this. 2 riders that stick out as the main contenders for the final overall victory. Contesting, of course, Demi Vollering, and that is Lisa Brennauer and Emilia Fahlin, both riders who have a great sprint, so they can vie for those bonification seconds, and they've both shown to be in great form. Fahlin had a fantastic cobble spring campaign, and of course the same goes for Lisa Brennauer, picking up a win for herself in the Healthy Aging Tour, but especially being vital to Kirsten Wild in her spree of success this spring.
Yes, most certainly. I just noticed on the front, one of the Norwegian riders is riding a former Bulls Dolmans World Championship bike.
Oh, you can buy them.
Yes, just there, right, just the left third of your screen in the red top. Yeah, in the Norwegian colours. But certainly, yeah, Emilia Fahlin is the kind of rider who can do well here. Last year at the Ladies Tour of Norway, she was second overall behind Marianne Vos, and she had an absolutely fantastic race there in, let's face it, similar conditions to what we have today. So certainly she's of the profile that could do well. She has a team that will hopefully get her in position to take the sprint finishes, and today is by no means a straightforward sprint finish.
Oh no, we saw this same finish last year, of course, and it's a pretty steep bunch kick actually. So there is bound to be differences in time at the finish line. And the thing that is interesting to me is Demi Vollering. She's only 22. She has soared up through the ranks of women's cycling, but can she handle the pressure of having that yellow jersey on her shoulders? Of course, she has 2 very experienced teammates. They're both riding at the front here, Roxanne Kneteman and Sophie de Vuist. They know how to ride a race, they know how to read a race, but I wonder if she copes well with the pressure.
I don't think there'll be any great issue with her coping with the pressure. I do think, however, that she will struggle in the final when some of the more established riders come to the front to contest what is a technical final. And like I say, like you say rather, that kick to the finish is short but very steep. I reckon 8 to 10% again, and so it's only 200 metres, but it's not a straight sprint. Crests with 100 metres to go, and then it's gently downhill till the finish. So it does make for a really, really interesting finish.
We're riding through the woods now in the most northeastern part of the course today, meaning that with the current weather circumstances your images might be a little bit pixelated, because we're working on a 4G stream, which in a country like Luxembourg normally works like charm, but because of the weather conditions today sometimes your screen might be a little bit pixelated, so forgive us for that, and thankfully the experts at Multimedia team know exactly what to do.
Yeah. Just talking of this finish, for the last 2 years, it's actually been won by Christine Majerus. She won 17 and 18. 17, of course, was the year when she managed to win the general classification. Last year, she was, I believe, second.
In the general classification, yes, she was second, 1 second behind Pater Noster. This is Asha Paladin at the back of the peloton. She was dropped a little bit earlier, found herself in the convoy, the young Italian rider who had that gnarly crash in Strade Bianche, severing her, well, calf muscles, as I was told. So that was a pretty bad thing. Evie Kuipers, she's the big rider there in the CCC Live orange jersey, patrolling Rianne Marcus to the front of the peloton, of course knowing that she has to keep the number 3 in the overall classification safe and sound. And Rianne, she was particularly happy with that podium spot. Of course, last year she had a really good spring campaign, but this year she was struggling a little bit. So she feels really happy to be back on top, and one of the contenders also for the overall classification. Rianne Marcus, do not underestimate her.
Yeah, this race is a great opportunity for the riders from CCC Live, because they often have to work in the service of either Marianne Vos or now Ashley Moorman-Passio, who are both on the team. So this is a really good opportunity for some of these young riders to stake a claim for future leadership. But it's interesting, all the riders we see here at the front are the riders that you would expect to see. You've got the green jersey there, just moving to the front, who is Brennauer, who is second place in that particular classification.
Yep.
So you've got the WNT team near the front. You have Christine Majerus is hiding just in the wheels. She doesn't have to do any work. She doesn't have the strength of a team to support her like these other full teams.
No, she doesn't have a particularly strong team here with junior riders from Luxembourg who are also struggling in the convoy. But of course, Majerus, being from the Bulls Dormans team, has so much experience herself that she knows exactly what to do. And just like you said, she won this race in the past 2 years, this stage, so she knows exactly how to time that bunch kick up here to Steinfort. Lisa Brennauer's teammate, of course, Kirsten Wild, we already wondered what was going on yesterday. She had some problems with her chain on the time trial bike, and that's why in that very short prologue she had to change bikes and ended up dead last. So she was of course not happy with that, but these things happen sometimes. You have a mechanical problem, and even riders from the caliber of Kirsten Wild have the problem. And we're going towards the King of the Mountains, the first in Kopstal, and it's happening. It's happening in half a kilometer, and that's an problems here on this steep climb in Kopstal for I think it's Clara Koppenburg, isn't it? Yeah, it is. She seems to have a little bit of trouble here at the back of the bunch, but we're almost at the top here, so they can come back. But if you have trouble here, and we've got another 5 laps with another hard climb in Kurik to go, that's not a good sign for Lisa Brennauer's teammate to be dropped this early. So we are going towards that first Queen of the Mountains sprint, a classification with a red jersey. And how's the points?
Yeah, it's the jersey sponsored by Ceratizit.
Oh, that might be why the team is interested.
Exactly, because they are the parent company of WNT. They are also based here in Luxembourg, and the points are awarded 5, 3 and 1 points for the first 3 riders over the top. It's interesting, as I say, the groups of riders that are there near the front. I saw Abby May Parkinson from the Drops team. She's just got to the front before the climb began and allowed herself just that little bit of sliding room to slip back through the bunch. She was a rider at the black top, and the very distinct, you can just see her just out of the saddle with the white helmet there. Very distinctive white patches on the shoulders. Their sponsor, Le Col, provides these jerseys with these very distinctive shoulders. I don't know why the shoulders are like that, whether it's a reflective patch or whether it's so people like me can look at her and find out where she is.
Some trouble here for one of the riders from the Andy Schleck team. This is the Finnish rider Vivi Puskala. Well, you've got your graphics on the team. The colleagues are pretty fast today.
Faster than us.
They're much faster than we are. So this is the sprint for the jersey. You can see the riders for the WNT team, but the sprint is being taken by one of the riders from BTC City Ljubljana, and Owen recognised her as Slovenian rider Ursa Pintar. So 5 points for her. Seems like 3 for
Magnaldi, is that?
Yep. And 1 point for Katrien Hammers, I should say. But we'll have to wait for the confirmation.
The confirmation, yeah.
So those are the first points for that Queen of the Mountains sprint, but we've got 2 more sprints to go. But it shows that this small Slovenian team, who have been around for quite some time, are eager to go for that classification. But of course today 2 more sprints, tomorrow 3 to go, so there's still 25 points in that classification up for grabs.
Just a little bit of chat there on the front through the 4 riders that contested it. I wonder if they were just chatting whether to carry on and see if they could get away, but they haven't decided to do that. And on the front, I believe that's Sophie Wright from the Bigler team, the British rider, just come to the front, and now the pace has lifted.
We can see that the yellow jersey is there at the front. She is riding alert. Rianne Marcus is there, and of course also the number 2 in the classification, Lisa Brennauer. Some
Kirstenville just coming down from that gap. Kirstenville just joining them, and here we have a replay of the sprint.
Juska Pintar going all Froome style there with the elbows, but it's very efficient and brings her 5 points. But it looks like we have a little group riding away with one of the riders for the World Cycling Centre. It's the Ethiopian rider in the blue and white jersey. And WNT Rota, they have decided to go on. So we see that some very important riders are in this first group, but of course we're now going towards the finish line again, and there's still plenty of time to regroup. But out of the, what was it, 109 riders still left in the race, they're bound to be, oof, that's a bit,
yeah.
There you saw that on the white.
Yeah, she just had a little slide on the white, but she realised that she was playing with fire there as she came in on the slippery white line. Interesting, as they've come to as this is starting to split up, you have Christine Mejerus, the home favourite if you like. She's in 4th wheel, sitting on the Bigler rider, just letting her close the gap to the 2 front riders.
This is very close, but she made it.
That's some skillful bike handling to make that. That is really, really skillful to make that. Is that Maria Giulia Confalonieri on the front here, the Valcar Silence rider?
I was thinking Artsufi.
Yeah, could well be.
But we'll have to wait for bib numbers. First, we're going towards the finish line, and we're going to show you some of our sponsors of the race who make the race and also this live broadcast brought to you by Motor Media Team Possible. So these are the sponsors of our race. Back in the race, and there's some looking at each other, but it looks, Owen, like we might have some exciting racing on our hands today here towards Steinfort. The cars are on the road. Sometimes people ask me, why are the cars on the road? Well, smaller races like this, or basically every other race apart from World Tour, they work with a rolling closure, meaning that there's police bikes patrolling a few kilometers ahead of the peloton, making sure that all the cars are on the side of the road when the peloton passes, and when the broom wagon has passed, everybody can just continue on their road. But the police car will not stand next to a parked car, so if people think I am in a hurry, I have to go to the shopping centre and I do not care about this bike race, they can just continue. There's nobody going to stop them, and sometimes that happens. Okay, an attack here for one of the teammates of Emilia Falin from the FDG team. She's putting in an attack here, and I think we've got a peloton of about, what should I say, 60 50,
I'd
60?
say, yeah, I'd say no more than 50 really. That's been split completely on that climb, and whilst yes it's stopped raining, it's not warm out there, and it is tough conditions, though there's not a great deal of wind that I can see rustling the trees outside our commentary box. These are tough conditions for this race, and you can see this is the pattern. There was going to be attack after attack after attack. It'll settle, and then it'll come back again, and this is what I love, and this is why it's essential that races are televised. You can see just how active it is.
One of the riders struggling at the back of the second peloton is actually the number 11 from the overall classification, Stina Borgli. So she's caught out. Well, it looks like she needs some assistance from her team car, so there might have been a mechanical problem for the rider who came in, I think she was 11th in the prologue. Right, she was 11th in the prologue. So this is one of the riders from the top of the classification being caught out.
Yeah, she's just looking down at her bike repeatedly. It looks like there could be an issue there, perhaps shifting. It's not shifting correctly, and so it's just the telltale sign. What's going on? What's going on? And you look down at your bike, don't you? And another attack here on the right of your screens, being followed there, and people are looking at each other and letting it go. I wonder if this rider will get away.
Of course not, but it might be the tactic of the team to wear out the rest of the peloton. Of course, their team captain is Emilia Fahlin, who is 7th in the overall, 13 seconds down on Demi Vollering.
And if you just look at this bunch back there's an attack now from one of the drops riders. It looks like WNT don't want any more than one rider to get away, and they were looking at each other when this rider went, but as soon as the drops rider attacked, they were straight on her wheel, not looking to waste too much energy by closing a big gap, but certainly not letting any more riders go up the road.
It will be nice if we can get a bib number for this rider. It might be the former French champion, Charlotte Braffard, but we'll have to wait for confirmation. She's very cautiously on the white patches on the road. Of course, everybody in cycling knows that those are particularly dangerous, because they're always a little bit more slippery. Thankfully, it has stopped raining, but there was so much rain that it was actually forming a little film out on the road, making, well, just like you do on your car, aquaplaning. It happens on the bike as well.
Yeah, we've got such a tiny contact patch between you and the road. It does make it really rather hazardous, and white lines are notoriously slippery, as are of course manhole covers, the steel covers in the middle of the road. Coralie Demey.
Yeah, it's the track cyclist for the team from France, Coralie Demey, and well, she's tucking herself into a very aero position.
That's a lovely position, isn't it? Completely flat back.
Yeah, that's usually what track riders have: good style, good positioning on the bike, all the way down. But well, she's got herself a neat little gap. So this is probably the tactic from the team manager here, Cédric Barre, to wear out a little bit the peloton before we get to the first passage of the finish line. And this is how she rode away. And we're back with our... No, this is of course the images of how she rode away on the right side of the road. Still got a rain jacket on and some mud on her legs. It's just like cyclocross.
Yeah, it was a really good move. You know, she no one was expecting her to go, and she got that little gap. But you can just see there's a little bit of suspicion about her being away off the front of the bunch, so they've brought her back within touching distance. She had a bigger gap than this, so she's just coming back now. I think this is the second group on the road, the back of the peloton, as you can see there on the graphic. And these riders will be making an attempt to get back on, but it could really prove quite difficult now. They'll all have teammates up the road.
Let's see some numbers. Of course, we recognise the large Evie Kuipers, and her teammate Agnieszka Skalniak is also in that team, which is not a good thing for Rianne Marcus, because she really needs some teammates up front. So 2 of the CCC Live riders caught out.
This is fascinating to see the bunch and the dynamic in the bunch. Who is going to chase? They're just not quite getting in the slipstream with the rider that's up the road, and so it's really difficult for people. They don't want to commit. They don't want to fully commit. But as soon as this drops rider has gone off the front, then they're going to chase her down. If this drop-stuck rider doesn't get across, then I imagine it'll all ease back again. But it looks like she's getting on the wheel.
We're 2 kilometers away of entering the local circuit, and our first finish passage will be at 47 k's to go, meaning that we've got 5 laps of 9.4 kilometers to go.
And there we are. That's Anna Christian, I believe, on the front there from Drops.
Well, she did a fantastic prologue yesterday, so I wonder if she should just spend her energy like this, or just sit tightly in the bunch and hope to make up some spots in the GC. Judging from her form, she's okay. In 5th position, it's Sophie de Boer. It's good to see her back at the front of a bike race. Of course, if you follow cyclocross, you know Sophie de Boer. She won the World Cup a few years back. I thought it was 2 seasons ago that she won the Cyclocross World Cup. And then she came down with overreaching, actually. The same thing that kept Marianne Vos off the bike for an extended period of time. Same thing that keeps Talita de Jong, former Cyclocross World Champion, off the bike. Though Talita is also back in the bunch for her new team. But Sophie de Boer, she's apparently feeling good and riding in this first group, and yeah, she's had to learn to listen to her body even more than a normal pro rider would, and she just would not recover after any sort of exercise, training, racing. So it's good to see that she's back where she should be. And of course, it's always going to be a tight rope to walk on, like Marianne Vos has talked about in interviews. Oh, and it's always going to be exciting to see what the body can handle and what it cannot handle.
Exactly.
But judging from the Tour of Yorkshire, I would say that Marianne Vos is doing pretty well.
Of course, 2 of those interviews that you might have read, I wrote. One in Cycling Weekly and one in the Spanish magazine Volata.
Well, I didn't read the Spanish one, but I read the Cycling Weekly one.
Abby May Parkinson there, trying to get some cooperation here on the front. Third wheel is the Valcar Silence rider, Confalonieri, and I do believe on the front there is the Australian rider Lauren Kitchen, front of the bunch. I don't know who this rider is.
For B Pink.
From B Pink.
Might be the Dutch one, but we'll have to wait for confirmation here.
And you can see there Parkinson is putting a big effort in. Really, she instigated this by just dragging those other 4 off the front. One of the Luxembourg riders just sprinting off the front of the bunch there to try and close this down as we're coming in towards Steinfort and crossing the finish line. Changing gear there for Abby May Parkinson. There's not a lot of effort coming here now. Confalonieri just opening her legs up out of the saddle.
We're 50k out, which means that we're about halfway, just over halfway into this first road stage. Thankfully for the peloton, the rain has held up for now, and if we look at the radar, it's probably gone for the day. And tomorrow it promises to be a very nice sunny day. So 50k to go. We're out on the local course, the 9.4k loop around Steinfort, going towards Curry, where we have that Queen of the Mountains twice.
This is. I mean, it's not classified this time round, I don't think. But nope. This is the Queen of the Mountains as they're coming in towards the.
It's short and steep.
Yeah, and it had a real effect on the race last year, in that the group that won the stage went off the front on that climb, and you can see that they've just had to slip down into the little ring, and everything is that little bit more laboured. We've got another Française des Jeux rider just trying to bridge across. There she gets. She's virtually on the wheel now. Abby May Parkinson fiddling with her earpiece maybe. and now we've got 5 at the front. Is that Demey again that's come across?
I cannot tell you that.
No.
We'll have to wait and see.
I think
but the bunch is closing in.
Right on their wheel, yeah.
Led by Sophie de Vuist there in the pink jersey
in fact,
for the Park Hotel Valkenburg team. We've got an
bravo.
attack here by the Italian rider who, well, might think there is a Queen of the Mountains sprint here, but it's not. It's going to be on the, not the next lap, but the lap after that. 30k out from the finish line. But the two groups are getting closer to each other at the moment, with Avi Kuipers doing the work at the front there in the orange jersey, and they're trying to get back towards this this first group. The other breakaway riders have been caught back, meaning that we've only got her left. And she looks behind. She's like, "Okay, where is everybody?"
Oh, it's all down to me, is it?
Oh well.
I don't think that's concerted effort to stay off the front, but at the moment, I wonder if she did believe there were points available there. But
I think she did.
Yeah, but there weren't. We've got
2 laps to go.
Yeah.
Some nice little drafting going on here.
Yeah, a handy little motorcycle, or big motorcycle there.
But she's going downhill so fast that the motorcycle just has to go full gas to get a little bit of distance.
Yeah, I think people forget that motorcycles suffer with the same problems that cyclists suffer from: a lack of grip on the road, because you've only got the 2 points of contact with the road, and all the other attendant difficulties with poor road surfaces and interesting perceptions of drivers that us cyclists have to put up with occasionally. Certainly in the UK.
We're 2k out from the finish line here. First time they cross the finish line. First time you also get to see that little kick between 400 and 100 meters to go. This is number 32. It is indeed Maria Giulia Convalonieri, one of the more experienced riders on the Valcar Silence team.
And another track rider. She splits her time between the track and road. Yeah. And I just feel that if she committed fully to the road, she'd be an absolute top rider. I'd love to see her come in.
46k an hour, which is well within the speed limit here. Yeah. Within the city boundaries of Steinfurt.
Interestingly, it's Valcar Silence on the front of this group that are bringing them back towards the peloton.
Oh, nice coordination going on there.
Yeah, well, there's no great issue with that, to be honest, and you can just see the technical finish. But there's no great issue. All they're doing is bringing back to the peloton, because they may need the rest of their team for later on. So tactically, it's not a bad thing to do. It's not riding against their own rider who's off the front. And they're winding the way through Steinfurt towards the finish here, and you'll, as Jose says, in a minute you'll get to see just how tough this and technical this little finish is.
We're going towards the last kilometre here. So far, so good for Convalonieri.
Yeah, the lucky thing from a rider's perspective is there isn't that they've already been round this circuit once, and there isn't any pressure on the peloton. They'll get to know this circuit, and they'll know where those traffic bits are and the bollards that are separating them from live traffic. They'll know where those are. So when the pressure comes on big time later in the race, they know what the road is like.
This is behind the second group in the race. And this is the bike of Convalonieri on disc brakes, which is a huge advantage with these weather circumstances. And she's now on that little kick in the final 300 meters, and well, she has to get out of the saddle, and it would be nice if you can get a little shot for perspective, but this is not an easy sprint to the finish line. And you could even, from that last corner, from 500k to go, put in an attack.
Yeah.
And try to stay away if you're a good climber. This is where it flats, and but it doesn't look like there might be a lot of time to get somebody back Like
No.
Owen said before, there's no significant wind here, which is beneficial for somebody who tries to break away. If there was a headwind here, well, you should not be trying it.
But it is an option, especially if you've got more than one rider in that front group. It is an option to get to attack on the final lap coming in towards the finish. Someone try off the front. If they get brought back in those final 100 metres, then you've got another rider to go for the sprint, which is not an option that Christine Majerus is likely to have. And there's Kirsten Wild. There's clearly a mechanical issue for her again, and she's come back, and you'll see the old the mechanic off the front. I don't quite know what he's trying to achieve there.
I think he tries to, get your gearing right.
Yeah. The control is there, isn't it, as opposed to on the stem? Yeah.
Tries to get the gearing a little bit set, but you might have to decide one point just to switch bikes. But there's, no matter how you set up your bike, there's always going to be a little bit of difference, and riders just prefer their normal road bike instead of a spare bike because, well, they're a little bit superstitious anyways. But there's always a little bit of difference between bikes, no matter how accurate you copy the setup in both bikes. This is a third group, and are there big names that we should be taking into account here? So far, I don't see a lot of big names. Clara Koppenburg is here, swaying left to right.
Is that after?
No, I think it's Clara, but
no, I think you're right.
One of the riders for the Luxembourg team there with the braids. But 1:56 is the gap on the peloton, which is a lot, and it's impossible to bridge. Back to Convalonieri for the Valka Silence team. Silence, of course, in the past a women's team on its own.
Yeah, and she's committed. She is now committed to the cause. You can see that her whole body language has changed. She's now down on the drops. She's in a good position, and she's flying.
But we're 45k out from the finish line. Yeah. It's cycling suicide.
Yeah, but it's giving options for her team, isn't it? To her team to sit in the wheel behind her. So, you know, she will have got the message from behind from her team director sportif, and he'll have informed her whether or not it was worth going in. Now, this is a fairly steep old drop down towards a right-hand turn just before it goes across the river. They're turning down towards Hobscheid, and they'll turn right just before they hit the river bridge. Well, hopefully they won't hit the river bridge, but there you go.
That would be bad.
Yeah, just there, and they're now following the course of the river, which is immediately on their left. And for those that are interested, that's the Aisch River, which rises in Belgium and runs through what's known as the Valley of the Seven Castles, which, having driven through there, never ridden, is a very beautiful river valley indeed. And there's, if you're interested in bringing a bike, a 37-kilometre footpath that you can ride your mountain bike alongside the river.
Nice.
Very nice.
Good tourist info. Very short stem here.
Yeah, got a tiny stem, hasn't she? Yeah. Her Di2 junction box only just fits in there.
Tiny. I started out with a 6mm stem when I started racing.
60,
yeah. And I'm now at 90, so I'm stretching my spine a little bit to get better positioning. But we're going to leave you for just a little bit and show you some of the sponsors of this race and this live stream. Back live with Maria Giulia Convalonieri. She's got a gap of 45 seconds at the moment. So that's a good little gap she has. We're about 43 kilometers out from the finish line in the first of 5 local laps around Steinfort via Hopschreit and Körig, going back to Steinfort, 9.4 kilometers in length. We did the same course in 2017 and did the same course in 2018. Both races won by Christine Majerus, the local favourite and local superstar with, I think, 31 national titles to her name.
Yeah.
In cyclocross, time trial and road racing.
She's been the dominant force, really. She's left some of the country's other women riders, at least, in her shadow slightly, and that's a shame for a country, a lovely country, and with a good cycling heritage and a fair bit of support. And it would be lovely to see some other riders coming up behind. Team meeting at the back for drops.
Many riders still in their raincoats, though it has stopped raining 1.5 hours ago. So the roads are gradually drying up, but it takes a little bit of time because it's only 8-9 degrees, so it's not like they're completely dry within the hour. But that makes usually a little bit of dangerous riding when you have these wet patches and the dry patches, because on the dry patches you have more grip than on the wet ones. There's some action going on at the front of the peloton. One of the riders trying to break away there, but we're here with Giulia Convalonieri and her Cannondale disc brakes.
I wonder if the gap's coming down. The speed that motorbike just went past, I wonder if that's just coming out of the gap between the two, between the front of the bunch and her. I wonder if it's coming. Oh no, 52 seconds. That's a decent lead there. It really does allow the rest of her team to sit and do nothing.
Well, if we look at the rest of the Valcar team, we have Alice Maria Arzufi, the cyclocross rider, Barbara Malcotti, Dalia Muccioli, Asha Paladin and Alicia Figilia. It's a young team with 2 riders just 19 and 20 years of age. I don't know who their card would be to play in a bunch kick, but Convalonieri would normally be the one that I would be indicating with her speed. So this is a different thing. This also might have been the circumstances. You know, she found herself in a breakaway of 5, tried to, in her mind, try to sprint for the GPM for the Queen of the Mountains classification. The rest of them dropped, and she thought, well, I just might as well just give it a go. And her gap is now almost at the minute. So if we look at the overall general classification, and we'll have to find out who the best rider for the Valcar team is, and that is this rider. She was 14th yesterday, 19 seconds behind Vollering, so it shows that she has got good form, because I spoke to Avi Kuipers this morning and she said it was just 2,700 meters of pure torture, and the watts were there but the speed wasn't, and that indicates that it was pretty gruesome up the climb especially.
Yeah, that's why I think this is slightly an error to have her off the front. She is the rider that is likely to do best both today and tomorrow, and will get the team the best position on general classification. So why have her off the front? Because as we've already alluded to, she's not going to win. They're not going to let her get away, I wouldn't have thought, at least. And they're just coming on to the base of the climb again.
No points
at Körig, and this time once again, as UCI says, no points.
Well, this is the second time we're going to do the climb, and it doesn't look that difficult, but it's pretty hard if you have to do it 5 times, and I still stand by it. If you get an attack out here and go full until the finish line, there is a possibility to avoid a bunch kick, or rather not a bunch kick, because will probably not arrive with a large group here.
It'll be, I would imagine, 30 odd riders that will come to the finish here. It's that kind of race. It's gnarly enough to split the race up, and so I would suggest 30 odd.
That is Bart de Klerk there at the side of the road, rider for the professional team Wanty Group Gobert and partner of Sophie de Vuist. Both of them went through a pretty rough patch in their careers. Of course, Sophie de Vuist had a hit and run with traffic, and Bart de Klerk, he has a hip replacement. Yep.
Yeah.
So he rides with a hip replacement, and he still hopes to make the Tour de France team for Wanty Group Gobert this summer. Comes from, of course, the Lotto Soudal team, and they have been together for quite some time. And so it's very nice of him to go and watch. He's the guy there with the bald head on the side of the road, Bart de Klerk.
Yeah, I was chatting to him in Oman.
Really?
About his hip replacement. Yeah.
He's a biomechanical
freak.
He's a lovely guy.
Yeah. So last year, just on the finish of this stage in 2017, this stage, as we've already explained a couple of times, Christine Majerus won it, and a group of 32 came to the line. Another rider 50 seconds down, and the rest of the peloton 4 minutes behind that. So that's quite a significant gap, caused, as we said already, on this very finish. And then in last year's race, it was a bigger sprint finish with 60 odd riders coming to the finish together.
Kirsten Wild is back in the bunch, and here is a good look at our race leader, Demi Vollering, wearing the Farai Services yellow jersey. And she's got a nice gap on the competition, 6 seconds, which means that, of course, if Lisa Breinauer comes in second, she takes over the lead, but if she comes in third in the same group. But that's all speculation, because this stage can go both ways. I still believe it's possible today, with the temperatures and the rain, that it's possible to put in a late attack and stay clear. This is the final kilometre with the Italian rider. Her gap has dropped to 25 seconds.
And she knows it. Looking back over her shoulder, she's just put some food back in her pocket. I guess she's had a bite of a bar or something. Stick that back in your pocket and just wait for the bunch now.
I could do with that. I left my sandwich in the car.
Ah, well, the advantage of...
I'm approaching the hangry stage now, so beware.
The best thing about this race is the burger bar that's outside, and I had a pre-race burger, and I have to say it was very nice indeed.
But there's also this mirror in the hotel room. So it's the choices that you have to make.
And didn't you have a burger for dinner last night?
There was vegetables on it as well.
Yeah, true.
And cheese and sauce and fries and everything. Okay, well, still pretty cloudy, but
there's a bit
no
of
rain for now, but
it doesn't look promising.
No, we had a little ray of sunshine just 10k ago, the last time they crossed the finish line, and you can see that from the turn from the main road up to Steinfort towards the finish line here. It's hard to stay away, but it's possible. But Christine Majerus knows this finish like no other, and she will not be fooled.
A fully committed rider has a far greater chance of staying away, especially if the group is smaller than this. So it's not a definite nailed-on sprint finish, bunch kick by any stretch of the imagination. And as we've already explained, I expect, with the conditions as they are, for it to be certainly a much reduced group from that which we have now.
This is the hardest part of the climb, and she's coming in offside of our Finnish cameras. And it's a nice little shot with the peloton chasing her. We can't get a shot off the front of the peloton at the moment because the gap is just too small. So the motorbikes are not allowed to get in between the bunch and the lone leader.
You can see by the flare of the motorcycle headlights just how dark it's got in the last 5 or 10 minutes. But it's not raining. And,
Not yet.
We are lucky.
Thankfully for Rianne Marcus, she's now in the red jersey, just a slightly different color than her normal orange jersey. You can see that Skalniak and also Evi Kuipers have made it back to the first group. And they will be a valuable help to Rianne Marcus, the number 3 in the overall classification at the moment. So, next tour, next lap, we're going to have points again for the Queen of the Mountains jersey. Previous sprint was won by Urska Pintar ahead of Erika Magnaldi and Katrien Hammers, both of the WNT Rotor team. Oop, that was a miss for the bottle.
A missed bottle, yeah. Looks like the soigneurs will be happy today, not having to go far from the finish to man the feed zone.
It's a nice little climb to get your bottle. Some organisers put a feed zone on a descent.
Yes.
They've obviously never been on a bike themselves before. But good work here by the Drops rider, throwing the bidon where the soigneur is and not throwing it the other way.
In a ditch, yeah.
In a ditch. Where
you see, it's just split up a little bit through the finish zone. We've just split up. And I note the absence of the yellow jersey.
All the jerseys, actually.
Though there is a Park Hotel Falkenberg rider there. There's also a WNT rider there. So that's Lisa Bernauer covered.
But they're all coming back.
Yeah, they're all coming back.
There's a little bit of a lull in the racing at the moment. Get your food in. Oh, no, there's not happening.
And
it's a Bigler rider.
Sophie Wright again, just putting herself towards the front. Make it hard. I'm sure is coming area. Make it hard. Abby May Parkinson, Drops rider there, just coming on, and the Valcar Silence just slipping into her wheel. But I think here comes the rain. Oh my life, I'm so glad I'm sat here.
No, it's raining again. Oh, it's raining again.
Of course, Sophie Wright's teammate Lizzie Banks last week was thriving in the hideous weather, and we the two of us exchanged messages on Twitter last night saying how she hoped it was miserable as sin, the weather today, and she seems to have got her wish. Looking at the left-hand part of your screen,
we've got a downpour on our hands, and we promised that it would stay dry.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's not to be. Our last hour of racing at the moment here in Luxembourg. And many riders just put off their jackets, and then it's happening again. Yeah. So this is not a good thing, but
but the race is racing. On. At least they'll be warm.
That's true. We can see the Namibian champion there behind the CCC Live rider. A lovely little jersey for the Namibian national champion Adrian Vera. She's hiding now again. I'd never seen the jersey before, to be honest.
Whoa, good handling there from Sophie Wright. Slightly overran the corner, but then just bunny hopped onto admittedly a small curb. Former mountain biker, so knows how to handle a bike.
That explains. We also see Kovrig here, the rider for the EuroTarget team. You can see the Romanian flag on her bib shorts.
Yes.
Being the national champion from Romania, Anna Kovrig. It's coming down. It's coming down hard now. The rain.
Katrien Hammers there on the left is the on the right hand side of the road. The left hand side of your screen. She's disappeared now. She's the WNT rider. She'll be patrolling the front there for her teammate Lisa Bernauer. Sophie de Boer having a drink there. Just stick your tongue out. I think you can catch enough water to keep you happy.
It's probably not.
And Christy Majerus with her dinner in her mouth. No time to eat it at the moment. Thank you very much. And the pace is up again, isn't it? The pace is up.
This is a replay of Sophie Wright's bike handling skills. Well, she oversteered here Just a little bit,
Beautiful.
but absolutely no problem. A little bit of off-road going on here for Sophie, and she's managed that.
And then Kovrig attacked from there. And now we're backing off again.
You can see that Demi Vollering is there in the centre of the pack in the yellow jersey. And her teammates there, Belle de Gast and Sophie de Boer on the left side of your screen. Kirsten Wild, after Soet, all at the front there.
This is Dutch conditions. People might joke that it's British conditions, but it's Dutch conditions as well, isn't it?
Oh, wait, to be honest with you, Owen, we don't get a lot of rain in the Netherlands. We're experiencing a severe drought, and we had a severe drought last year. It was about 30% less rain than the year before, and some regions of the Netherlands have still not recovered from that lack of rain. So the water in the ground is still not up to level for the farmers to draw water for their lands. No. Yeah, and rivers are pretty low as well. So yeah, it rains sometimes, but at the moment in the Netherlands it's 15 degrees. So I think Kirsten Wild, who has short sleeves and is not faced by these conditions, would love to be back home in Zwolle and ride alongside the IJssel River instead of these horrible conditions.
But she's a tough rider. She's a tough rider. And another attack here from Drops.
Well, they're making a good race here. Good riding here.
From Bigler, sorry, my mistake.
Well, you can see on the overcoat that she has, on the jacket that she has, that this is a water repellent one, but there is going to be a point that everything is going to be soaked. And with these temperatures, that is going to be a problem. Oh, go away with the motorbike.
Yeah, Nicole Hanselman, that'll be, who was off the front. We may remember, rather notably, at the beginning of the season at Omloop, where where she was stopped because she was catching the back of the men's race. A lot of controversy over that.
It happened again, but then the other way around in, I think, Brabantse Pijl. Or was it Nokere?
It was
one of these
Brabantse Pijl.
Yeah, where the men had to stop because the women were on the same circuit.
Same race organizer, of course.
Yeah, never mind. It happens, and for Nicole Hanselman, it would not have made a big difference. She would not have won Omloop het Nieuwsblad anyways.
It was interesting because what happened in the men's race is that the front of the race was actually ahead of their fastest schedule, but the back of the race was 14 minutes behind them.
That's men's racing, you know.
And that never happens in women's racing.
No, normally in a men's race you got a breakaway, going clear, taking a few minutes, especially in the spring classics, and then in the last 60, 70, 80 kilometers, because that period is getting longer and longer, that the breakaway is being caught, and then we have a final on our hands. And a breakaway with that gap of minutes and minutes, I've not seen it quite often in women's racing.
Well, the difference being is smaller teams, we have 6 women teams as opposed to 7-man teams in that level of racing, which changes the dynamic. And also shorter races mean that you cannot let a break go too far up the road. You know, in some of the longer races that women's races that we've seen, you know, excess of 150 k's, yes, a bigger break will be allowed to go for longer.
Like Flanders.
Yeah, but De Panne last year, I think it was there was a break of 20 women up the road, and the final one was caught in the last kilometre, heartbreakingly, for Mika Kroger.
Well, she made up. She's won 2 races already
this
she's
had
season.
a good year, as have her team. I've had a fantastic year. Team Virtue, who aren't present with us in Luxembourg this week. It's proper miserable now. We're just coming up now. They're going to take a right-hand turn onto the climb, and this time it'll be climbing for points for the Queen of the Mountains classification. Rihanna Marcus just at the front. You've got Christine Measurus just looking around the corner, taking the bend, and a supremely accomplished cyclocross rider. And there on the right-hand side of the road, left-hand side of your screens, is Lizzie Banks, the young British rider from Team Bigler, who was thriving so much in Yorkshire last week, but by no means is she a one-trick pony. Looks like the British pair are doing the work here for Bigler, with Sophie Wright once again having a really tough day, coming to the front, out of the saddle, powering away, with Erska Pinto there on her wheel looking to score the points for the second time, but she seems to be labouring now with the Astana rider there on the right hand side of the road, powering away. Pinto's got her gear right now, and Sophie Wright there just fading away. Too much too soon, I think, there for the Brit. And is Pinto going to come round? No, she's not. She's ceded it to the Astana rider there.
I think this is Pirone, the Italian former world champion.
Yeah, double world champion.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, but we'll have to wait for the number. But I'm pretty sure this is Elena. I think it says on her helmet as well, in the yellow.
Yeah, if she keeps her head still, which of course she has no obligation to do. So a little split there with these two over the top, but they have just put a monster effort in.
Anyways, we've got 8 points for Pinto, which means that she leads the classification with one more sprint to go, and the next sprint is going to be in the next lap as well,
with a maximum of 5 available. So it will, if that is Pironi, it will only be her that can challenge her, I think.
Yep.
Unless Magnaldi scored, and it looks like that was the end of Sophie Wright's day, and perhaps that is Kirsten Wild there with a mechanical. She has not had a good week for mechanicals, and I wonder if that's an abandon. She didn't look to have another bike handy ready to go. So these two, they are continuing their attack. They're just 2 kilometres away from us at the finish here in Steinfort. But there is a concerted chase going on from Bigler there on the front of the bunch, and that is Lizzie Banks once again, the British rider.
Well, Drops are putting on quite a show here. Are involved in many of the attacks. They
Bigler,
are really,
yeah.
Bigler and Drops as well, putting on putting on a show together.
Yeah, Drops have Graham Hurd, who is their director this week, a Scottish gentleman who was in fact at WNT.
Let's see if this is going to be a DNF for Kirsten. Well, she takes a bike computer, so she might do a bike switch.
Yeah, we don't.
But we'll have to see when she crosses the finish line here.
These two kind of know that it's not worth carrying on, but they're in two minds. They're unsure whether to keep making an effort, because Pinto needs to make sure that she can win the Queen of the Mountains jersey. She wants something left in her legs. She's not going to last off the front, I wouldn't imagine, for the 10 kilometres round to the next QOM.
That would be remarkable.
And that's it.
Yeah.
I think the look on her face there was, yeah, that's us.
Not working here, not working.
And it's difficult in these conditions, really difficult. Let's hope everyone stays upright.
They're not taking any risks. We're getting into the last kilometre again. This is the start of the climb, the last road into the finish line. And there's nothing to gain on the finish line. No points, no intermediate sprints today or tomorrow, which is a shame. I think you should reevaluate that, because in a tight classification where bonification seconds are important, it's always an added bonus to have bonus seconds along the road.
Sophie Wright again. That's Sophie Wright come to the front again and setting a pace with her teammate Lizzie Banks on the back. This is good for the Brits here this week. These two are really animating. And that's great for the rest of the team. The rest of the team can now just leave it for these two who are committed and very happy to put big efforts in on behalf of the team.
We've got the results in for the second Queen of the Mountains sprint. 5 points for Olga Shekel, the Ukrainian rider for Astana, so not Pironi. 3 points for Urska Pintar and 1 point for Sophie Wright. So Ruska Pintar for the BTC City Ljubljana team is taking a nice little gap here. This is another attack coming in for the finish line, and not a lot is happening at the moment. I wonder if Kirsten Wild is still in the race, but we'll have to check. Once they cross the finish line, we can check their transponders and see who's where.
If she's changed her bike, might not have a transponder.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right.
But it's likely to still be chasing those. So.
Pirone in the lead with the woman in the white jersey, Franziska Koch, Katrin Hammes, Elizzy Banks, Lisa Brennau, a lot of German riders at the front there. Majirus came through in 6th, Arsoufi in 7th, Shekel in 8th, Marta Lach for CCC Live in 9th, and Sophie Wright in 10th position.
Here's Kirsten. Kirsten was just coming back through the cars.
This is Pirone, coming from Südtirol.
Yeah.
As you can see on her helmet, it's a bit like Jolanda Neff style. Put a sponsoring on that part of the helmet. Jolanda Neff usually does that as well. And this is the double world champion from Bergen 2017.
She's certainly a talented rider. Doesn't appear to have the strength in depth at the team to support her, to allow her to kick on. But that said, she's still so young, and I'm a sort of great believer in allowing, unless the circumstances fall right for anyone, allowing people to develop at their own pace and not putting them under the pressure to succeed at such a young age. You can. It doesn't matter male or female, you can thrash them out of existence if you do that.
This is Wild on her spare bike. And look at the stem that she's got on the bike compared to Convalonieri. It's about twice as long. Kirsten Wild, of course, being of the large Dutch variety, like Evie Kuipers and like myself. It all comes down to the cheese, Owen. Dairy products. Dairy products all the way.
But she's not panicking, and that is the benefit of experience. She's not panicking. There is no issue for her. She knows she'll get back on. Pirone working pretty hard here on the front. Another committed effort to get away. And this is where the women's side of the sport does differ from the men's. We don't often get this style of racing where one gets away and is brought back, and then two get away and they're brought back. And I guess if you're tuning in, you probably agree with me, but it's less formulaic, and less formulaic means more entertaining, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree with you.
Not to say that I don't enjoy men's racing. I love it all day, every day, really, as my wife can contest. Because when I'm not working, I'm sat in front of the television.
Or ironing.
Ironing, yeah. Ironing's
it's
the
your
good
other
thing.
passion.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do, to pretend you're actually doing something towards the household, but actually
gives you all the credit.
Taking 15 minutes to do a shirt, then sitting down.
I never do any ironing. Okay, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
I love it. I do.
This conversation is going nowhere. I'm not an ironing person.
My wife has my daughter has the best iron shirts in her school.
Well, that's the thing with being in Britain. You have your school costumes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And as will her sister when she starts at the same school this September.
Second group here with Loes Adegeest and also Clara Koppenburg from the major teams there. They're at 4 minutes behind the lead. Also Lydia Boylan in that team, and Riley McMullen, the Irish riders. So we've got 102, 103 riders across the finish, meaning that there's a couple of riders who have abandoned, including two of the young junior riders from the national team in Luxembourg. Back to our lead rider with number 82. You can see on her frame there, Elena Pirone. And just like Elisa Balsamo, Sofia Bertizzolo, Letizia Paternoster, she comes from a very, very successful generation of Italian riders, and the Italian National Federation are doing a great job with the national team. Of course, it all starts at club level, but then they have to bring these riders to the Nations Cup races. And the thing is, and it basically all started in Qatar, the Italian junior riders, they started racing as a team. And if you look back at the race, for example, in Norway of the French national team, they had 3 riders in the top 10, but they raced against each other instead of racing as a team, which is not at all normal in junior racing, but it's starting to happen now. They have to start racing as a team, and the Italians were actually the first to do that. British doing it well, Dutch are doing it well, but the French made a total chaos of it in Bergen.
It's a team sport, and there is no doubt that there's a team sport. I often think it's a shame, however, that that it being a team sport, an individual wins. There's a sort of lack of fairness in that for me, if you like. But yeah, it's very much a team sport, and if you want to win at any sort of high level, you have to race as a team. 32 seconds now for Pirone.
Well, if she stays away, she can pick up the 5 points for the Queen of the Mountains jersey.
Yep.
Oscar Pintar is at 8, and if she takes another 5 points, she will be at 8 as well. But then Pintar will have will be on the same level. So it then comes down to
Olga Schickel, wasn't it?
Oh, of course it was Schickel. Yeah, thank you very much. I should stay awake. I'm sorry.
Well, at least you didn't repeat anything I said in its entirety like I did you yesterday.
Oh well. It's always when you start working with new colleagues, it takes a little bit of time to get used to each other.
I had an early start yesterday morning, and I think I was flagging a little bit.
Flagging or flailing?
Yeah, both.
We're getting towards a minute for the lead of Elena Pirone, and nobody in the bunch seems to be eager at the moment to bring down that gap. Next Queen of the Mountains is going to be at 21.8 kilometers, so that is in less than 2k, but it's not going to change a lot because Pirone doesn't have any points yet. But it might be important for tomorrow, because if riders are on the same amount of points, it's important who came in first the most times.
Exactly.
So these could be valuable points. She's going to lap one of the riders from Norway.
Yeah.
That is, well, we're still about 6 riders short, but this is one of the riders lapped and therefore taken out of the race. 1:46, Ingvild Bratte-Kleef.
Who we mentioned yesterday.
Of course we did, yes. She was in the time trial.
And here we go, on to the bottom of the climb. Pirone will no doubt score maximum points over this.
But Pintar will be very eager to get these 3, making it 11. And if you know that tomorrow we've got 3 Queen of the Mountain sprints left, is a total of 15 points. Having a score of 11 takes you quite a long way towards that final score, towards that final jersey.
And sharing the prize with your teammates, and it's excellent for sponsors to get them out there, really. So we should perhaps give Pintar's sponsors a little bit of cred. BTC City Ljubljana. An interesting team, actually. They've become far more competitive over the last couple of years. They've brought in some interesting riders who can really make a race, who can contribute greatly to the outcome of a race. So it is a very interesting team. That Sophie Wright just onto the climb there. Sophie Wright led out both her compatriot and teammate Lizzie Banks into the bottom of this climb, and I would have thought the gap is going to start coming down a little bit now.
And I've got sunshine on my face.
Yes, yeah, through the
Window.
through the rain splattered window, yeah. I'm just seeing again the Norwegian rider being pulled from the race. I imagine the motorcyclist told them they were coming, and that'll be her day, and she'll just ride into the finish, I guess. Whilst we have sunshine, it doesn't quite look like that they have the same thing out there on the course just yet, at least. And Pirone has only lost 5 seconds. 5 seconds over the top of that climb. I would expect the next lap, however, things to start getting a bit hotter and the gap to come down. Lizzie Banks looks still on the front. I wonder how many of the points she got on the third QOM.
Let's see what's happening here. We see the rider in the yellow jersey. She is at the front with Rianne Marcus and Lisa Brennauer. So that's your top three in the general classification. And Sophie de Faust is looking at her teammate, who is taking the lead here. This might be an interesting move. Of course, Christine Majurus is there as well. Are they going to try something in these last 2 laps?
I got the feeling that one of the Park Hotel riders looked at Brennauer and said, well, come on, then you do some work. And she said no. But GC belongs to Park Hotel. It is their job, and Pirone is only 21 seconds down on general classification. So as a consequence, is now the general classification leader virtually. It's down to Park Hotel. They hold the race lead. If they have no confidence in following to take the GC, perhaps they're going to sit up. But that could really play into Pirone's into her hands.
She's away. She's been away now for 10k, almost 10 kilometers, and going towards that finish line again. Then it's another 2 laps to go for the Italian rider, who is 20 years of age, and her biggest victory, we have already said it, was that double world title in Norway.
Rianne Marcus, is that on the front?
It is Rianne Marcus at the front there, followed by a rider from the Luxembourg team. That should be Claire Faber, I think. So also Majurus has got one of her teammates in this first group, but we can see that a large part of the peloton aren't trying to come back here. Where is Pintar? Pintar is at the back of this group, and we can see that Kirsten Wild has abandoned the race. There's a short graphic there, but she has abandoned the race.
There's a lot of looking around going on here, and that is promising. I appreciate we have 20 k's left to ride, and actually the whole thing is under control. But you never know. You never know if that looking around carries on, and we're in the same position at the end of the next lap. Then Pirone will put a significant amount of more amount of effort in, just switching there, as you saw, to the little ring, make it easier to come up this little dig up past our commentary box and over the finish line. She looks to be tiring, however.
I'm afraid she does. Bunch is
spread out.
Yeah, but it's back together again.
Yeah.
But they're looking at each other. They're now at the foot of the climb, just coming off the main road. So the last 500k. Rianne Marcus is looking...
500k.
500 meters. Thank you for being so...
pedantic?
No, that was not the word I was looking for. No. Helpful.
Thank you.
Helpful.
Thank you. My pleasure. I'm here to serve.
So large group back together now. Pirone on the finish line. She's still got a gap of almost a minute because there's some cars in between her and the bunch. And nobody seems to be particularly eager.
Yeah.
We're going to have to await the results of the third and last Queen of the Mountain sprint. We of course know that Pirone took 5, but we are particularly curious to see if Pintard took the 3 points left. Big group still.
And a big gulping of breath there by Demi following the race leader.
Well, so far she seems to be very relaxed.
Yep. Anna Christian was just leading that little group back to the back of the bunch.
Anna Christian being in the top 10 of the classification, of course. So there's still a lot for her to be gained. And of course, we know that Vollering has 6 seconds on Brennauer and 8 on Marcus. But if we look at the rest of the top 10, they're all still pretty close together. So taking, for example, 4 seconds on the finish line in bonus seconds might take you from place 8 to place 7. Kirsten Wild has not abandoned, by the way. She's on the left side of your screen there. A little mistake there by the race radio. But she's still in the race, and she's coming to the front of the bunch now, looking for her friend and teammate Lisa Brennauer, because like it was in the spring campaign, Brennauer working for Wild, it's going to be the other way around today and tomorrow.
Yeah, it's interesting as well. Both riders came across to WNT Rotor from Wiggle High 5. It's not as if they've never worked together. They clearly get on, and they're clearly happy working together. So it's very interesting there. Now Park Hotel have just sent a rider just up the road, and the second she tried to get off the front, it's Roxanne Knitterman, isn't it? Mm-hmm. The second she tried to get off the front there, WNT were after her. So there's clearly some thought going in. They don't want too many riders, or there's certain teams that they don't want to get away. But this is still not significantly reducing the advantage that Pirone has.
Well, thank you for tuning in to the festival Elsy Jacobs in a now sunny Steinfort in the west of the country of Luxembourg. We're not very far from the Belgian border. I hope you're split screening this because, of course, at this moment, Tom Dumoulin has taken the start in his attempt to win a second Giro. So just turn on your TV and watch this wonderful live stream of this exciting finale, because it's going to be exciting, on your laptop. So we hope that you stay with us. If you're watching this race and loving it, just tune into Twitter and let us know at Owen Rogers and at Tour de José, and also let the organisers Festival_Elsy know that you're appreciating what they're doing with the live stream that they're putting up for you as women's cycling fans.
And of course, races, I'm so old I can't remember if I said this yesterday, however, races like this, putting time, effort and don't forget money into allowing you to see their event. This is all hugely important for the development of women's cycling. Sponsors need exposure, and if they have no exposure, they're in it for very little.
Lena Pirone, she won the World Championships in Bergen. She was on the podium with Emma Nosgaard, who is with Bigla. I think she's on the start list here as well, isn't she?
I don't think so.
No, she's not. She was on the professional start list, Emma Nosgaard. Letizia Paternoster was third on the podium there in Bergen. Other riders in that top 10, Fiva Giorgi, she was 6th. And Sophie Wright was 12th. And Lorena Wiebes was 22nd in that road race in Bergen. She just got dropped on that last climb, the Salmon Hill. Remember that one?
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
that was just a little bit too much for Lorena Wiebes, who is of course, just like Kirsten Wild, a big rider, and that means that she has to take a little bit of extra weight on the climbs compared to smaller riders like Paternoster and Pirone.
And of course, Wiebes herself took the third stage.
Clean sweep.
A clean sweep indeed, yeah, of the Tour of Chongming Island overnight, or it finished at 7:30 this morning. I'm sure you were up watching that, weren't you?
You were.
I was, yeah.
You were covering for me, were you?
So yeah, took the took the third stage, and of course with it the general classification of that race. Her first general classification rider victory since she became an elite, and also the first World Tour victories of her short career. She did win the Healthy Aging Tour junior race a couple of years back, I seem to recall.
Yep. Got chasing here, chasing Elena Pirone. Well, the Valka rider is trying to get the rider from Bigler to take over with that little elbow signal, but well, she's not taking the bait.
I would suggest that's Lizzie Banks again, and I would suggest she's possibly on her knees. She looked really tired earlier. She's coming through to take a turn now, and they're just chatting, but 47 seconds is the lead from Pirone to the peloton. I don't know what it is back to, but Lizzie Banks, of course, started the day only 13 seconds down on GC. You know, we'd still have 15 kilometres to go, but the permutations become fascinating as you come towards the end of a race. And if they can catch Pirone and then they work together as a group, then we could have a big surprise on the cards with the bunch all looking at each other, saying, "Well, you do it, I'm not doing it," and it's a pretty good race. This, I say.
So far, so good. Absolutely.
Changing cadence there from Pirone, who just switched gears, looking down at her bike. Let's hope it's all working. And this little group here, we've got 5 riders off the front with another chasing group of 6. Well, it's the bunch at high speed trying to chase this group down there, not happy with having a total of 6 riders off the front.
Well, some of the biggest teams are part of this breakaway, so it's going to be interesting to see who is going to do the chasing. There's an awful lot of looking around, though, so there's no real faith by these 5 riders in their effort. As we have seen, for example, with Annemiek van Vleuten in Liège, just go ahead, or Kasia Niewiadoma in the Amstel Gold Race. They both said it in their post-race interviews. Just go ahead, don't look back, and give it your all.
And smash it.
And smash it. And there's a little bit of nervous looking behind from these riders. They're looking at each other as well. So
great effort there from the Valkar Silence rider, gritting her teeth. Gnarly conditions, gnarly riders. Oh, I love it.
Watching it from your, well, not so comfortable chair.
Well, it's not so comfortable, but it's significantly more comfortable than anything Sella Italia make.
Don't say that.
or Physique, or any other of the cycling saddle brands. And of course we had to turn the heater off yesterday, didn't we? Because it was getting a bit toasty in here.
Bit smelly. Anyways, Pirone, she will soon see the cars pass her, because the gap is dropping at the moment, and I think the lead commissaire will ask the cars to leave her, because the gap is going towards half a minute. All the cars here sponsored, of course, by Skoda, just like the men's tour that even bears the name Skoda Tour de Luxembourg, which takes place the first week of June. And a little birdie told me that you can watch that live as well with some commentary.
Multimedia team, as well,
and me.
Fascinating. All on your own, though. Yeah,
you can't join me there. Sorry.
Damn.
But it's going to be a first that you can see that men's race as well on these beautiful, steep but demanding Luxembourg climbs, and we've got some, well, pretty hard ones lined up for you in the men's race. So be sure to tune in for that.
Is that Koch the
Max rider? No, she's on a Sunweb bike.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's Francesca Koch.
Yeah.
The number 10 of the overall class. Yes, it's her. The overall classification. The number 13 is Marta Lach, the Polish rider for CCC, and they're now 40 seconds behind Pirone, and they're both on the climb here. No more points for the Queen of the Mountains classification. We'll have to wait for the results of the third sprint, but I think we can just assume that Pintar is going to be in the red jersey tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we'll be quite safe with saying that. And there's the peloton just coming around the corner onto the bottom of the climb, and as Jose suggested a short while ago, here come the cars closing, coming out of the gap between the groups.
And we've got shadows out on the road.
Yeah.
Number 34, Dalia Muccioli for the Valkyrie team, Marta Lach for CCC, Francisca Koch for the Max Vaardeslei team. We've got one of the riders for FDG. We'll have to confirm her plate number.
And it's Lizzie Banks once again, the Bigler rider.
So those are the 5 chasers. We're gonna just have to check the number for the French team's rider.
I think it's Demey again. I saw a 4.
Well, it's a very active ride today by her. It is
5.
It's Duval, Eugénie Duval for FDG. Aquitaine Futuroscope, one of the teams that are linked to a men's World Tour team. Of course, Astana are bearing the same name, but they're 2 completely different structures. It's an Italian team, Astana women's team, and they're 2 different structures, so they're not linked to the men's team. But in the case of FDG or Trek Segafredo or Lotto Soudal or Mitchelton Scott or CCC Live or Movistar, they're all linked to the men's team as well. I think that's the way forward. Just make sure you share each other's expertise and logistics as well to save money. Have the same service course, the same fleet of cars and buses.
And often the same staff.
And often the same staff, yeah. Five riders chasing here.
And we're down, closing in on the final 10Ks. This is turning out to be a very exciting race. They can look down the road and they can see Perrone ahead, but there are still bikes in there, motorbikes in the gap. I imagine they'll be brought out of the way very, very shortly. Quick gel there for Perrone. It's too late to be eating any solids. It's all about quick assimilation of the energy which an energy gel will give you, whereas a bar or something like that doesn't give you that instant hit of sugar that you need. So it's a squeeze a gel in and crack on as soon as you can. They're still struggling just to get on her wheel.
She's 20, she's taking a little bit longer than, for example, Paternoster, but she will get there as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Although, if you look at the long list of world champions in junior road racing, some of them we never heard of again, but most of them are big names like Jolien Dore, Lucy Garner, Eleanor Barker, Amelie Diederiksen, Elisa Balsamo, and Chloe Dygert, who unfortunately is staying in the USA and not racing a lot in Europe. Chloe Dygert, who was a phenomenal double world champion as well, time trial and road race in Richmond in Virginia.
Of course, only one of those has gone on to win the Elite Women's World Championship, and that's Amelie Diederiksen, Danish rider with Bulls Dormans. I see on social media they've recently had a sponsors week, and I think then they're all scattering off to the Four Winds to resume their racing program with Tour of California coming up.
They surely missed. They're missed here.
They are missed here, yeah.
And also for the organisers of this wonderful race, they deserve a good field. But at the moment, we are racing in Chongming, of course, a World Tour race. Many riders have already made the crossing to the United States for the Women's Tour of California. Tomorrow we've got a 1.1 race in Belgium, Trofee Maarten Wijnands, where a lot of the Belgian teams are racing. So it's a difficult spot on the calendar. But if you look at the honour roll of this race, they have the biggest of names: Anna van der Breggen, Annemiek van Vleuten, Marianne Vos, Christine Majurus, all very big World Tour riders who have won this race. Van Vleuten not. No?
No, Van Vleuten not, but Cassia Niewiadoma won it in 16 with Katrin Garfert, who's now retired, but second, and Anna van der Breggen in third. Anna van der Breggen herself won the year before with Van Vleuten in second, Lucinda Brandt in third. You know, there are some massive names there, and a race like this does deserve to have such names here.
We are back at the finish line for the penultimate time, and on the climb, Elena Pirone has been caught by Lizzie Banks.
Yep.
Yeah, Lizzie Banks, Francisca Koch, Marta Lach, Dalia Muccioli, and Eugénie Duval. So now we've got a 6-woman breakaway, but the peloton is not far away. It's going to be a very exciting last lap.
So 9.4 kilometres to go, and this group of 6 who are now crossing the finish line with the peloton closing in on them. And there, Park Hotel on the front.
Well,
leading, taking their responsibilities as the team of the Demi following, the leading rider. They're taking their responsibilities and trying to bring this gap down, and it's now down to 35 seconds. So it's kind of settled, really, with Pirone going backwards slightly, and this group of 5 that caught her going forwards, obviously.
we have confirmation of the Queen of the Mountains classification. Urska Pintar was not among the first 3 on the last climb, about 11 kilometers ago. Pirone took 5, Sophie de Vuist took 3 points, and Lizzie Banks took the remaining 1 point, meaning that Pintar is at 8, and there's Shekel at 5 points, and then Pirone at 5 points as well. So that is the top 3 in the Queen of the Mountains classification. So still everything to play for tomorrow, with I think 15 points again on offer for that classification. Yes, 15 points. So 8 for Pintar, 5 for Shekel, and 5 for her teammate Pirone. So with 15 points on offer, there's still a lot to play for.
And Kirsten Wild now doing the work on the front, as we said, in exactly the same point of the last lap. She's now doing the work. On the right hand side of your screens, you can see just sitting on the wheels of a Bigler rider, Christine Majerus, who's moving herself into position for what will be the sort of climactic part of this race. Muccioli has stripped off her arm warmers. I think she was wearing arm warmers a little while ago. And this is where the real business ends. You know, throughout this race, riders have been stripping down the layers. I was talking to someone, I forget who now, before the race, and I think she was talking about having 5 layers.
Well, it seems like these 6 riders are working well together. Everybody's taking their turn, so nobody's well, Pirone is not doing anything at the moment, but she needs a little bit of time to recover from her effort. To stay away on her own for 20 kilometers, almost 20 kilometers.
No speed displayed there, sadly, on the little counter there.
Well, I will be close to 50. We're on a downhill here.
I would have thought so, yeah.
Duval in blue, number 13, and Marta Lach in orange for CCC Liv. Then the tall rider from Germany is Francisca Koch. She's on the red bike. She's the leader in the young rider classification, and Park Hotel are chasing together with WT and Rota. There was a short message on the race radio that Kirsten Wild had abandoned, but that has of course to do with the fact that she's on a spare bike, so her transponder didn't show up when we crossed the finish line. So that's that out of the way. Lizzie Banks at the front. This is Francisca Koch, the number 10 in the overall.
On that beautiful Cervelo bike. I do like that Cervelo bike, despite the fact that the handlebars do look a little bit odd and I'm a bit traditional, but the paint scheme, the Sunweb paint scheme on Koch's bike is gorgeous. Nothing less than that. Absolutely gorgeous. Pirone still hasn't come through and taken a turn that I've seen. Just Lizzie Banks slipping in and into the group, and you can just see the way she's positioning herself in order that she's not taking a turn. 34 seconds, the gap now. A shout from the side of the road. I don't know if you heard that. Come on, you can do it. Pirone, remember, started the day 21 seconds down, but of course Banks in there was only 13 seconds down.
And Koch even less.
And Koch even less. In fact, no, Koch was 15. So the best placed rider here is Lizzie Banks.
This is, of course, Dalia Muccioli, riding for Valcar Silence. Her compatriot Elena Pirone on her wheel, still 30 seconds. So if somebody still has something left to go in that last kilometre and have, well, maybe a 15 seconds lead on the peloton, I would say Franziska Koch has what it takes to do that. She's awfully strong. She's off to Sunweb per the 1st of August. She was already due to ride for the team in her first year as an elite rider, but they postponed it just a little bit because she broke her ankle just before the World Championships in Innsbruck, where she was actually the biggest favourite to take home the junior title. And they gave her a ride at Max Watersley, and she's been absolutely awesome so far. She leads the club competition in the Netherlands, which is a series of races for club teams and also pro teams alike. But the club riders, and Max Watersley is a club team, have their own classification. Watersley is an adventure park, actually, in Limburg.
Right, okay. I did wonder.
And it's also going to be the location of the last UCI Junior Nations Cup race.
Which, of course, was won by Pfeiffer Georgie, I believe, last year.
Exactly. The year before.
Will be teammates with Koch at Sunweb next year. Pfeiffer Georgie already on the team. This is getting tight now. 5k, 32 seconds.
But they're still committing, all six of them, well, apart from Pirone. And this is now work by Belle de Gast, Sophie de Boer, also Katrien Hammers is there, Kirsten Wild. She's exchanging some words there with Lisa Brennauer. Roxanne Kneteman coming to the front, helping her teammate in the yellow jersey. The entire team is here, seems to be here. I think the only rider for the Park Hotel Valkenburg team not in this first group is Loes Adegeest. So 5 riders, so 4 riders in support of the yellow jersey, Demi Vollering. So far so good to keep that lead, but if Brennauer wins the stage, for example, she gets 10 bonus seconds and can overtake the lead in the overall general classification, but they have to bring back the first group. Yeah,
and it's still 33 seconds. These riders have got to stick together, though. They've got to stick together all the way through and definitely over the top of the climb. They've got to try and get over that together. Then, with what, 2.5k to go to the finish from there, they have a chance to win.
But that climb is going to be a very pivotal point in these last 5 kilometers. 15 seconds is something else that's been shown on our screen. So 15 seconds is absolutely nothing when it comes to staying away.
Yeah, you could see there was a very committed effort from the back, and with 2 teams, full-on teams working in WNT Rota and Park Hotel Valkenburg. They should be able to bring back this group of only 5 of them working. And there you go. The cameras had to come out of the gap to allow the make sure there's as little drafting as possible. We should just see the peloton. There they are, coming round the bend behind them. One bike still in the gap with a police escort sat in there as well to protect, as a protection essentially for the bunch, and I'm sure that police officer will come out of the gap very, very soon. On to the climb. Lizzie Banks leads the break onto the climb with a fast cadence. Look, she's trying to get up to speed and hoping to take more points after the 2 points that she took on the in fact, sorry, I'm wrong here. There are no points on this particular ascent, are there? As someone pointed out on Twitter, look, all the German national team are all in short sleeves, no knee warmers, hard as nails in these conditions. But that's a massive effort there from Banks at the front of the race.
It's great to see these young riders taking their chances here, taking the opportunities when they come. Of course, if you ride at Bigla, there is one big rider, and that is Cicely Ludwig, who has been riding a magnificent season so far, podiuming on the Tour of Flanders, for example, being absolutely ecstatic about that. I think the entire world has seen the interview with the always bubbly Cicely. And but this is a great opportunity for Lizzie Banks to try something for herself. Franziska Koch, she just has to grind her teeth, and Marta Lach follows as well. So we're down to a few riders. Trouble here at the back for Agnieszka Skalniak and also for the French rider Lucie Lahaye. But this is not where it's happening. We can see that the Park Hotel girls are at the front, making sure that Vollering is safe. But
we're down to 3 over the climb. The climb's done and dusted.
Yeah, but
and we're down to 3.
It's very close at the moment. Yeah, there is Brennauer at the head of the peloton at the moment, with Majerus, with Vollering, with everybody who is important in the overall classification. Oh, she's screaming her heart out.
Yeah.
Well, I think that Franziska Koch knows what to do. But of course, this is all frustration in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's passion, it's effort. This is what sport's all about. She's looking over Banks, looking over her shoulder. That they're not going to stay away now. That gap is 12 seconds, I would estimate. Unable to get a clock on it really at the moment. But they've still got the Commissaire's bike in the gap. Yeah, about 12 seconds there, that lead. And you've got a group chasing there of, I don't know, 12 riders, then 3 or 4 behind them, and just dribs and drabs behind. And the music on the start line outside our commentary box is, my feet are actually vibrating. They're not moving, I'm not dancing. My wife will tell you that I've never danced.
Which might be for the best.
It probably is, yeah. But this is a fantastic finish to this race. 1.9 kilometres to go. We've got these 3 riders off the front and a chasing group of those that we consider to be the favourites. As we're coming into this tight technical section towards the end of the race, and that makes overtaking, getting past, makes manoeuvring that much more difficult. You've got to get round the bends, and we've got wet roads and slippery white lines.
Well, they're just giving their all. Lizzie Banks here in black with the green for Bigla Cycling. The orange rider Marta Lach, she was already 10th in Brabantse Pijl for CCC Live, and with the blue helmet, the young German rider Franziska Koch. 3 riders, and they are going downhill, and then one final turn into that last climb. We're now in the town of Steinfort, and then one last left-hand turn, and we go up the final climb. They still have got a chance to do this. Lizzie Banks is looking incredibly strong.
Whoa!
That's a sliding.
Big crash.
Was it Brennauer?
I don't think so. It looked to be an orange, yellow bike with a black top.
Attacked by Marta Lach, the young Polish rider for CCC Live. She is 22 years of age. Well, she's going to be 22 at the end of the month, so still very young. And she takes her chance, just like Lizzie Banks on the Bigla team. The chances on a team like CCC Live with Ashley Mollman-Passio and, of course, Marianne Vos are not always present. So if you've got the chance here, you have to go for it. And Marta Lach does exactly that. The final 500 meters, I think they're going to stay away.
I do. And Koch isn't coming through and doing any work. Well, whether that's because she can't or whether it's because she's unwilling to do so for tactical reasons. But this is really tight. Koch out of the saddle there. She's trying to come round. I think. Oh, this is a fantastic finish. 300 metres.
Where is Marta Lach in the general classification? We know that Lizzie Banks is 8th and Franziska Koch is 10. The peloton are coming, but it's too far away. It's Lizzie Banks. Is she going to take the win here? She's done an awful lot of work today. She's attacked over and over and over again, and it will be fantastic if she can take the win. But we're not going to see the finish line. What happens here? I haven't seen the finish line. Oh, it's Marta Lach, the Polish rider for CCC Liv, and she takes the win here ahead of Lizzie Banks and Franziska Koch. I don't think it's enough to take the lead in terms of seconds, because Vollering was only a few seconds behind.
Yeah.
But Lizzie Banks is going towards the top 5 of the general classification by taking those 6 seconds. It will bring her up to 7. I think it will bring her up to 3rd place in the general classification. Yeah. But I think Vollering has just hold on to the lead in the GC. But the win today is for 21-year-old Polish rider Marta Lach. Team director Jeroen Blijlevens said, we've got a team here of 5 riders who can take their chances. They're free to ride for their own chances, and Marta Lach did exactly that. I think this is going to be her first UCI win, and she's absolutely happy with it. Big congratulations for the Polish rider, with Valerie de Meij here, with Evie Kuipers, with Rianne Marcus, of course. What a fantastic win by this young Polish rider. And I think Marianne Vos, well, she's riding her own sportief today, so she might not be watching, but she can watch the replay on Motor Media Team and on the website of Elsy Jacobs and see what a very clever race Marta Lach did.
It was a fantastic race. She tried the attack off the front, but because Banks was left doing all the work with Koch unable to come over the top, Banks just could not close that gap on her own. And I think the gap there from Banks in 2nd place back to Vollering is only about 5 seconds.
5 seconds exactly. So that means that Lizzie Banks is now in 2nd place.
2nd on GC, yeah.
At 2 seconds from Demi Vollering. And tomorrow we're going to have another very demanding circuit in Garnisch, and 2 seconds, it's absolutely nothing. So this GC is not done yet. It's absolutely not done yet. We've got the top 10 here. Marta Lach wins the stage for CCC Liv. Franziska Koch in 2nd place. Lizzie Banks in 3rd. So she takes 4 seconds instead of 6, making her go in 2nd place in the GC anyways, but at 4 seconds from Vollering. Dalia Muccioli was 5th. Eugenie Duval, she won the bunch sprint in she was also part of that group in 5th place. Pirone, Belle de Gast, Magnaldi, Brennauer, Shekel. I don't think this is the finish, I'm sorry. This is the last. No, this is the finish.
Yeah, it's certainly Banks that's come in 2nd, with Koch in 3rd, and then behind there it looks like it could be.
It's Vollering in 4th.
It's Vollering in 4th,
with
yeah.
Falin in 5th, Majorus in 6th,
yeah,
Stine Bogley in 7th, Convalunieri in 8th, Brennauer in 9th, and Marlene Reusser, who was 4th yesterday, is the last in the top 10. Rianne Marcus 11, Sophie de Vuist 12, Katrien Hammers 13, Lotte Becker 14, and Sophie de Boer 15th for the Park Hotel Valkenburg team. But this is the winning sprint of Marta Lach. She takes 5 seconds on the bunch and they stay away. What a very thrilling final today. It's a lucky number 13.
Yeah, that's a seriously good bit of riding there from Lach. She started the day 36 seconds down, so she is at this stage she is of 0 threat to the general classification, but she certainly have moved up it. Whether she can better that tomorrow, who knows? But as far as I was concerned, that was a good and exciting race.
And big differences in time. If we look at the top 10. Are we missing some riders in that first group? I think we've seen most of them. Of course, Vollering was 1st, Brennauer was there, Marcus was there, Reusser, Hammers, Koppenberg, of course, we missed. She was way back.
Yeah, I think that's her there.
Yeah, Falin, she was there. Banks, of course, was there. Anna Christian, haven't seen her yet. And the number 10, Koch, who's also going to make a big leap up in the general classification. But Vollering keeps the yellow jersey with my calculated margin of 4 seconds on Marta Lach. What a very...
On Lizzie Banks.
On Lizzie Banks, I'm sorry, yes, very. And Franziska Koch probably goes to 3rd in the general classification. I'm going to see a little summary of today's race to bring you up to date with everything that happened here in Steinfort. Well, it was raining, and we saw a very, very active Lizzie Banks. She's been racing her heart out, together with Sophie Wright, I should say. Both of them did a tremendous job for the Bigler team. A little bit of, well, close calls, though we saw somebody crash in the final 500 meters, the final turn. We don't know who has crashed, but we do hope that she is okay. And then about 30k out, the rain started lashing down. A little bit of cross-country racing by Sophie Wright here, and of course the roads were very wet. We saw a breakaway with Elena Pirone, the attack here by Wright again.
Sophie Wright, yeah.
So the Bigler riders have really shown themselves. We know that Urška Pintar, the racer there in second place for the BTC City Ljubljana team, takes the red jersey. We saw some mechanical trouble for Kirsten Wild. She had to switch bikes, but made her way back to the peloton, showing that she's awfully strong, despite being off the bike for about 8 to 9 days because of a well-deserved holiday. She did a great job for Lisa Brennauer in the final, just like Magnaldi and Hammers and Afke Soet did. This was the attack by Elena Pirone, about 30k out. She stayed away for 20 odd kilometers, getting a gap of almost a minute, but was then joined by the decisive breakaway in the race. A little group bridged from the peloton, including Franziska Koch, Marta Lach and Lizzie Banks, the numbers 1, 2 and 3 of today's race. Cautious steering here because of the wet roads. And Pirone, she did a tremendous job on her own, but just when we started the last lap, she had to surrender to 5 chasers, and the chasers are here with bright orange Marta Lach. We had Dalia Muccioli there, Lizzie Banks was there, Franziska Koch was there, and Eugenie Duval for the FDG team. So then we had a breakaway of 6 riders holding on to a mere 15 to 20 seconds in that last lap, and it seemed to be really difficult to stay away, but they did manage to stay away and defending that very tight gap. Good thinking here by Pirone, despite being at the front of the race. In the heat of the moment, she takes in some gels for those last 15 kilometers. And this is in the final kilometer of the penultimate lap. Regrouping, or the chasers led by Lizzie Banks, who did an awful lot of work today. And then we had 6 leaders with Banks, Koch, Muccioli, Lach, Duval, and of course Pirone, who set on at the back of the group for the remainder of this lap. There was nothing left in the young Italian to do something on that final climb. Koch was one of the strongest ones, together with Lach and Banks, and they eventually got rid of Pirone, Muccioli and Duval to stay away with 3 riders, still defending that very tight margin of 15 to 20 seconds. Both teams, Park Hotel Valkenburg with Sophie de Vuist and WT en Rota with Kirsten Wild, did all they could to bring back that breakaway. But despite all odds, they managed to stay away, and that's the fantastic thing about the race here in Luxembourg. It's always an unexpected scenario, because you think that they will come back, but they do not come back. Lizzie Banks pedaling like crazy, doing at least 100 rounds per minute on that climb. But Marta Lach, she raced it very, very smart. And of course, she has some very, very experienced riders on her team, like Ashley Mollman-Passio and Marianne Vos to teach her. Franziska Koch, star of the future as well for the Max Waterslide team. And Lizzie Banks, she really screams her heart out, trying to make it go a little bit faster. Here's the crash, one of the riders for Volcar, it seems.
Yeah,
one of the bright yellow Cannondale bikes crashing there.
That's also going to stall the chase a little.
It is going to stall the chase because you see somebody else crash, and that always makes you a little bit anxious. But this was a well-timed attack. But look at the strength of Vollering. If she races like this tomorrow, she's going to bring home the general classification, because she does this all by herself, of course supported by a wonderful Park Hotel Valkenburg team, taking home 4th. But she is still the main contender to take home the overall general classification. Tomorrow, we return to Garnisch, where we had the prologue as well. We're going to do that reverse, but still some very gnarly, very steep hills to decide the final overall classification in Festival Elsy Jacobs. Owen Rogers and myself, José Bain, will be back here on the Motor Media Team live stream on the Elsy Jacobs website at 3 p.m. So see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Jaune op de